Hey, good morning. Old guy on a bike here. Well, you know what's behind me? That's something I've been working on and trying to get done for quite a few months now. I'm ready to show it to you. This is Project Curly. Project Curly, you never heard of that? Well, that's because I just gave it a name the other day because I got tired of saying Project Drop Bar Mountain Bike, which is kind of long and not very endearing. But you know, I normally don't name my bikes, but Curly, because, well, curly bars and all of that. And I thought, well, that seems like a good name for a bike project. Project Curly, that's where I've taken a old, unused, and fairly unloved hardtail 120 fork mountain bike, and I converted it to drop bars. Now I've got other videos on that. You can go back and take a look at them. I don't want to go into too much details to keep this short. I want to basically really quick look through some of the main parts I used, kind of how that's worked out, but mostly I want to talk about how it's been to ride, because you can put all kinds of parts together with a grand plan. Doesn't necessarily mean it makes a great bicycle. But I'll tell you what, I think I've made at least a very good bicycle. Well, more to come on that. So let's take a look real quick at what I did assemble and how it looks. Here we go. Now this bike originally came with SRAM 1x11. 1x11 was fairly new when this bike was introduced. And 1x11 for where I live for a mountain bike really kind of sucked actually, because a 3042, I think, wasn't that what 1x11 was as far as a low gear? Man, that's not really very low, not really. Not when you were coming from doubles in the old days that would have had lower gearing than that. Now, of course, 1x12 certainly solved that. So I converted this to 1x12. It's running a GX rear derailleur with a 1052 cassette and a wolf tooth 32 tooth chainring. And I did that because I'm not sure if I'm going to need the ultra low gears you need for a trail bike. We're going to find out, but I can always adjust and go down to a 30, and that'll give me as low gearing as I'm likely to need pretty much anywhere I'm going to be riding this thing. So the wheels and tires, this came with Plus tires. This was the back in the era when Plus wheels and tires were the thing. And so it's 27.5 by 2.8. Now I'm keeping it that way for now. The wheels are a really nice set of carbon Rovals. They're 38 millimeter wide internal, 27.5, and they fit these Maxxis Icon and Recon 2.8 tires really well. It's a surprisingly light package considering how big the tires are. And I think Plus, you know, it kind of had its day in the sun, and it didn't really have a lot of long legs when it comes to trail bikes and things, for very good reason. I don't like a Plus tire when things get fast and technical. They're bouncy and vague, but for bike packing where your speeds are lower, maybe you're in rougher areas, you're not in a big hurry, Plus tires really are not bad at all. So I'm going to keep this Plus, I think, most of the time. However, I do have a set of mountain bike wheels, so I can run like a 29 by 2.3 or something like that for those days when that seems appropriate. Now to get it to shift those 12-speed cassette on there, I stole the Rival 22, so that would have been 2x11 road shifters and brakes from my old Linsky gravel bike, since I'm riding the Turner Cyclosis now that was kind of sitting around as an old carcass. And what I used was the Ratio Technologies. It's a company that takes some SRAM rifters, you know, drop bar shifters, and it can change the shifting ratios. In this case, it changes it from 2x11, or 11 speed, if you will, to 12 speed. So now I can shift a 12-speed mountain bike rear derailleur and cassette on this, and it shifts it really well. It took me about, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes sitting on my garage floor on a towel and to take the little shifter apart. They have really good instructions, videos and things online. It really wasn't terribly hard if you're mechanically inclined at all. And now it shifts 12 speed, and so far it seems to shift really well. And the brakes from the that old Rival stuff, that was actually post mount. Since this bike is post mount, That works really well, and I'm using 180 millimeter rotors, front and rear from SRAM, and hopefully that'll be enough braking power for me. We'll see. Of course, I kept the SRAM, the RockShox 120 fork, that's on there. No changes there were needed. Now, as far as making the handlebars, the cockpit work, you remember I talked about the Ritchey handlebars, it's what I used on this, and that has worked out really well, really well. Now, I used a 40 millimeter stem, so it's a really short stem, about as short as you can go. It was a 60 millimeter stem with a flat bar. Now it's a 40 with the Corralitos, but that very short reach, very shallow drop of the Corralitos bar, man, I'll tell you what, I wasn't sure if I was going to get myself spatially, reach and stack in the right place, but riding this so far, I think I did really good because right now it feels really comfortable. Now, one thing I did with the Corralitos bar, it's a very round bar. It has no shaping to the top of it. And so I thought over long days when you're just kind of like bumping along, you're not moving fast, I wanted to have a little bit of maybe extra comfort to take the pressure out of the palms of your hands. Now, Redshift, they have their cruise control drop bar system, and it's a top grip and a bottom grip. What do they call it? Drop grip and top grip. I had to look at the box. And I use the top grip. And what the top grip does, it's a shaped piece of rubber, so to speak, that you attach to your handlebar in the curve of the handlebar. I'm going to do a Tech Tuesday video on this thing, so I'll give you more detail. But it's really, really slick. It's a little fiddly to install, but it's not terribly difficult. And what it did is it gave me that little shape position, so when I'm riding along, I got a little dispersion of the pressure, on my palms and stuff. It feels really good, and so far that's been quite good, and we'll see long term how that works out, but I think it's going to be great. Ooh, and I almost forgot, regarding the Corralitos bar, I did something else besides the Redshift top grip that was kind of cool and custom. I used this Ritchey foam grip for the bottom of the bar. Now I'll put it up on the screen, I don't remember what they call it, but basically this is one single piece of foam, like the old foam grips you used to have on mountain bikes, or maybe even way back in the day, used to have inexpensive road bikes came with sectional pieces of foam. Well, it's kind of like that. It feels great to the hand. The amount of grip you have when you're down in the drops, it's nice. It's got to be tough too. If I tip this thing over, it might rip, but it's not going to tear, I don't think, like a regular bar tape. It's very, very cool. I actually installed it using an air compressor and the little, the long tip blowguns. I just kind of filled it with air and slid it on like you do back in the day. If anybody is old enough to remember doing that with a grip on a motorcycle or a bike before, they had the little clamp collars and things. Anyway, shout out to Ritchey for these. I think this is a really neat product and definitely worthy of a bike project like this. Anyway, there's that. Real quick, as far as storage, you can see I've got a frame bag on it. That is it's a Revelate. It's a Revelate product. I've got 2 or 3 of these frame bags that kind of in different sizes. I've moved them from bike to bike over time. And that'll give me, I think, maximum frame storage. I'm going to be adding, I'll be taking you through in the next video, as we go into the bike packing setup, but I'll be adding some water capacity on this and of course racks and things. And we'll talk about that at the end of the video. But I also have a little mountain feed bag there on it. And that just keeps, I'll probably put 2 on there, and that'll keep me a bottle there or a little munchies or maybe a camera or whatever I need to put in there. And that'll get me a water bottle. Whether or not I'll run a Camelback type hydration pack or not on this, not sure. I'd prefer not to. And so hopefully I'll have enough storage on the bike where I won't need to do that. Now, I did one thing with this that was somewhat, it's controversial to me. We'll see how it works out. I took a dropper post off a mountain bike and put a suspension seat post on. No, that's not something you normally do. But here's what I'm gambling. I'm gambling that most of the time I'd rather have the bump impact relief over long days than I will care about having a dropper post for very technical riding. Now, I don't plan on doing a whole lot of big drops and stuff on this, but dropper seat posts, they do just lower your center of gravity. So they're really, really, really good. And I understand how good they are. So it's a trade-off. For right now, I've got a Redshift suspension seat post on there. It's the regular one. It feels great on it. So far the rides, it feels more like I've got a really short travel, full suspension mountain bike, really quite good. And I think right now that's going to be okay. But you know, one thing I did to make it so where I can drop that seat, if I know, say I've got a long descent coming up and I know it's going to be kind of technical, I'm not worried about pedaling and climbing and all that, I put a really nice orange, yes, it's orange, I love it, wolf tooth manual release type seat clamp, right? So I can just drop the seat down a couple inches, whatever I think I need with the wolf tooth. Then I can put it back up when I'm done. Remember the old days of the height right, which I still have in a box. I thought about maybe it'd be fun to put that on here, but I think this will be good. And then the Redshift post, it's graduated. It has little lines on it so I can go right back to where I had it fairly easily. And so we're going to see how that works out. At Sea Otter, I did say, I think it was KS, has a dropper seat post with some suspension in it now. And, you know, maybe in the future, that's the way to go. But we'll try this first. And as far as little orange bits, MucOff sent me some very nice little orange Presta valves that I put on this, and that worked out quite well. Put some fresh Stan's tape in there in a 39mm width for these rims, and then I filled it full of WTB sealant. I like the WTB stuff. Oh, and I also converted the chain, since this is a brand new chain, 12-speed, I converted it on the bike to the Smooth Lube wax lube, and I have a video on how to do that. It's a 10-minute conversion. I will be running the Smooth Lube wax lube on this like I do on all my bikes. It's great. Other than that, let's see. Let's talk about how it's been to ride it. How has it been to ride? Did I create a Franken bike that isn't really very good at anything? I don't think so. I'll tell you what, it feels pretty darn good. Now, I know I gave up that moto kind of feeling you get with like a flat bar from a mountain bike, but generally speaking, it rides and drives down the trail really well. Now, I have to get tuned back into plus tires because those big fat poofy tires, they have a lot of what you call self-steer. And they tend to like grab little ruts in the trail and they feel kind of weird, you know, and so there's some of that going on. And undoubtedly I messed with the dynamics of the steering of this bike a little bit. But that said, the fit for me, how natural it feels, I just made the height, you know, with the Cordelito spar. It's got that 15mm rise, which is really nice because this kind of had not a whole lot of spacers and stem adjustment the way it was, you know, cut by the manufacturer. That worked out really good, so it feels comfortable sitting. I'm more upright by an inch or so from any other drop bar bike I had. I think that's good. If I need more in time, well, there's always something like that Redshift top shelf bar, and that would get me all the height I'm sure I'd ever need. But in the meantime, I'm pretty pleased so far. It rides and drives down the trail really well. It does feel like a slow, funky gravel bike in a sense, and I think that was kind of the vibe I was looking for, because I am looking to do more, you know, moderate technical trails, and maybe someday parts of the Tour Divide, you know, I think the Great Divide mountain bike route, that appeals to me. Maybe doing that in one state at a time, and I do it with probably a fast 29er wheel. But I think this so far is kind of making me think that it would do really well at that. When it gets technical, I go to the drops, and the Cordelito bars are such a shallow drop. It's pretty nice. I can ride there. I can drive the bike down the trail in the drops without a whole lot of stress on my back and shoulders. It feels pretty good, and it's pretty wide once you get that 500mm bar, and it's even wider, you know, in the drops. So it is really good. I took it down a couple technical single tracks with some like kind of roll-in drops that are, you know, 10 feet or so, and they kind of roll out. Not too bad at all, not too sketchy. Even driving it from the hoods feels pretty good. But I'm really encouraged. I think it's going to be good. It pedals along fairly well. Oh, I weighed it. If I remember right, with the bag on it, without the pump in it, but with cages and all that pedals and stuff, it was like 26.5 pounds. I don't think that's too bad. And it pedals really well. Now, these plus tires are horrible on the road. They are slow, but on the dirt, they're pretty perky. They're actually not bad. Hey, what do you think of this jacket I'm wearing here in these video clips? I was out, it was a misty, almost rainy day. This is another Rab product. This is in their Cinder line. It's their Phantom jacket, super packable, like a 9 out of 10 waterproof and windproof. Looks like a really nice piece of bike packing kit. Little flappy for road, but got the hood for the helmet. Yep, quite nice. It kept me warm and dry on this morning. So what's next? Well, we got to get it set up for bike packing, don't we? Now this bike, as I said before, it has no braze-ons. I can't just bolt a rack to it and whatnot. It doesn't even have a third water bottle braze-on and those types of things. But I have a plan, and that plan involves Old Man Mountain and their rack system for panniers and bags and whatnot that uses the through axle of a bicycle for the mounting points of the support for the rack. And between that and some really nice little brackets you attach to your bike with big zip ties, man, I think that is going to be a great system. That is what next. I'm going to get that fit. I'm going to show you that. And then we will get all the rest of the bike packing kind of set up on it. And then I'm going to go take a trip. If it isn't 112 degrees by then, by the time I get this done, we're rolling towards summer really quickly here in Southern California. All right, that's it for now. Old guy on a bike out. And you guys have a great week and or weekend. Go ride your bikes.
You made me miss. You hit me in the chin. Ow, ow. Why?